Welcome to another episode of Not Too Deep. I'm your host, Grace Helbig, and I am desperately trying to contain my excitement about this episode. Finally, it happened. The one and only Michael Buckley is my guest today, and if you know who he is, you know that he's a very special person in my life and so many of your lives at the very beginning of YouTube. He's an OG YouTuber. He is a fast-talking, sassy, gay, gunkle, and now YouTuber turned life coach. His whole journey through the world of new media is wonderful. It started as a public access television show that he created himself, and now he lives in his twin sister's basement and is life coaching and living his absolute best, most fulfilling, most purposeful life. He oozes excitement, he oozes advice, and just a vibrancy that is so pure and wonderful. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Here's Michael Buckley on Not Too Deep.
Not too deep. Not too deep. With Grace Helbig.
I'm so glad I got Michael Buckley in between his furious tweeting at our current president of the United States. So thank you.
Oh my God. Like, I literally wasn't on Twitter for years, and I thought, I'll come back and this is what I'll do with my time.
Oh, but I love it. It's like one of my new favorite things to watch because Twitter to me is helpful and is also obviously like a dumpster fire at the same time. And so it's hard to like sift through and want to see what's happening, but then not want to see everything that's happening. And I like that your tweets are constructive. Like they're a little sassy, but they're also constructive for the president.
Thank you. I took a strengths assessment, and my number one strength was humor. My number 3 strength was perspective. So I'm always trying to use humor and perspective. And now the president doesn't have any self-awareness, and I'm sure he doesn't read tweet replies. And fun fact, I actually have him muted. But yes, it's like looking up your ex-boyfriend on Facebook. We're not friends, but I want to know. So I muted you, but I'm dying to know what weird stuff you're tweeting today, leader of the free world.
Oh, man. Did you ever think you'd be here in 2020 spending your time doing that?
I knew it was all going to shake out like this. And it's funny because I made a video on the youtube.com in 2006, and the title was Donald Trump is an asshole. And so I'm like, I knew we'd be here someday.
You manifested a lot of things, apparently.
I did.
Well,
I love 2020.
I love that you have found the ability to love it. Because what else are you going to do? You're just going to like waste your energy hating something you can't change necessarily?
It's terrible and it's ridiculous and it's a dumpster fire, or it's a beautiful growth opportunity. So it's so funny when I'm working with people, they show up and they want to work on stuff. And it's like, in 2020, we had back-to-back growth opportunities, whether we wanted them or not. Here's COVID, which totally resets our reference points and gives us an opportunity to grow. And then just when we kind of get used to COVID, here's racism. And so it's like COVID, racism, Donald Trump. It's whether and if we're not growing and evolving, this is terrible. And we're waiting for this to be over and to be solved. And so I'm really focusing on all the lessons I'm going to learn this year and all the wonderful takeaways I'm going to have on the other side of this.
Well, that's really beautiful. And I think that you have a lot of experience in growing and changing more than a lot of other people. On that note, let's start back at the beginning of your public access television show, which was what I learned, the impetus for your YouTube channel, no?
Yeah, so in May of 2005, I schlepped on down to Wallingford Public Access Channel with 18 hours worth of cue cards, and I just started talking about local government. I'd make fun of the mayor. If somebody got a fence, I'd be like, shout out to the Smiths. They got a permit for a fence. I would read the police blotter. Like, I was insane. So I would do celebrity news. And so, that segment kind of became What the Buck Show, which was a 5-minute rant about celebrities in the middle of my public access show. Yeah.
Wow. So you've always been interested in the world around you. You've always been interested in like people doing things and what they're doing.
Totally. And I'm always looking for the humor. So I remember it was funny because I used to watch reality shows like The Real World or
Mhm.
Survivor or American Idol season 1. And I would literally have a pad like this and I would write down jokes. There was nothing to tweet. There was no
Right.
YouTube, but I would write jokes thinking I'm going to go to work tomorrow and drop some Kelly Clarkson jokes. So lucky for me, Steve and what's his name put together YouTube so I could thrive and share my terrible jokes with millions of people, dozens
Amazing.
now.
I mean, okay, so you have this public access TV show, which is just so funny to me that you did that and sought that out and like made it your own. It's incredible. Like you're a true like Renaissance man using the resources at your fingertips that you had.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and then you get on YouTube, and then What the Buck Show blows up in like what, 2007, 8, 9?
Yeah. 2007, like my first hit video was like November 2006. So I was pretty popular pretty early. Like I definitely
Yeah.
I had a year's worth of content before anybody really saw me. And then I had one video get like 200,000 views. And that's kind of when my adrenaline hit in. And I was like, I don't know how many people are tuning in Wallingford, Connecticut, but 200,000 people across the globe are watching me make horrible jokes about Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson. And so, yeah, so that's when 2007, I started
Yeah.
doing it 5 days a week. And then, yeah, then the partnership program and then life and retirement. And
Yeah. Well, so you're doing it in 2007 and the partnership program happens and for people that don't know what that is, that's basically how would you describe it? Cuz it's like YouTube created like they offered to pay the creators basically, like if you reached a certain number of views. I forget exactly how it worked. Do you
until
remember?
that point, yeah. So up until like that point, we were all just dumping content on the internet and making no thought that you could monetize it. That just sounded
Right.
ridiculous. And so in the summer of 2007, YouTube handpicked like 40 people and said, we're going to share revenue with you. And it was like a 50-50 split or a 40-60 split or
Right.
whatever. And I just remember getting the email from George Strompolis, who then started Full Screen and was, very big in the space in the beginning. And I remember crying. I remember being like, oh my God, my life is going to change. Fast
Uh-huh.
forward to 2 months later when I got my first check for like $100. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, I've gotten millions of views and I've made $100. Don't give up your day job.
Right.
and
Right.
So yeah, but that partnership program started very small. And then I remember like 2 years later, suddenly everybody being a partner and being like, but I was so special. I had a
Right.
banner. I had an ad on.
Yes.
I'm important. I've got a banner.
Uh-huh.
People don't know what we're talking about, but it felt like such a big deal to get a banner and then email someone on MySpace and be like, can you make a banner for me?
Yes. I remember trying to figure out like a very crude like MS Paint or something to make myself something.
I
It was, and then you asked people to put you in their sub boxes because that
Sub
was
for
a way
sub.
to market yourself. And
Yeah.
so when you're doing this, did you, because it was still lost on me in the beginning years of YouTube, probably because I was working for another company that like owned all my content, but the idea of it being a business was still kind of, I feel like I was really slow to pick up on that. Did you kind of set your eyes on that once you saw numbers coming in and like understood and like realized the business part of it?
I understood it pretty quickly because I remember after like 4 months of not much money, then YouTube changed the way the ads made. And suddenly I was making like $10,000 a month.
Right.
And that was way more than I was making at my day job. And then I really did reach out to people. I remember reaching out to like the CW and just asking to promote their stuff. And they were paying me like $3,000 a pop to promote stuff. I remember
Wow.
I remember reaching out to Sony and just saying, I love your content. You have no views. Do you want to work with me? And they would pay me to promote stuff. So I definitely was. And again, I was a grown up. So there was such a
Right.
difference between me and like 17-year-olds who were like, I want them all to think I'm their best friend. I would
Right.
hate for anybody to think that I was making money off of this. So I
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed the money and went for the money. And I remember talking to you around 2012 and asking you specifically about a brand deal. And you told me like how much you made. And I was like,
Uh,
oh, they should have paid you like 10 times
I
that.
know.
You had
I was
no
so
idea.
naive.
Yeah.
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 I was truly in it for the content's sake. As long as I could like pay my rent, I was doing okay. And yeah, you and Hannah Hart both really grilled me on being stronger and having a bigger backbone when it came to the business side of things. But okay, so how long would you consider like yourself actually like truly active in the YouTube space?
So I like to look at it like I feel like I was active 2006 to around 2016, like full time. And I
Hmm.
always think of my career like I loved it for like I loved it unconditionally until around 2011. So I had about 5 great years. And then I
Yeah.
started to fall apart mentally. And I really
Hmm.
wasn't enjoying the content I was making. So then I had about 3 years of just struggle busty, still making content, but really not enjoying it. And then in
Yeah.
2016, I decided to retire What the Buck Show. I wasn't getting any views. I wasn't making any money. I was playing a character I had created for public access 10 years ago. And so it was time to go do something
Yeah.
else with my life. But I did spend the next 2 years or so still making videos occasionally, still getting some sponsorships. So wanting to maintain my YouTube persona in case anybody wanted to throw a couple $1,000s at me here and there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, but now I am officially retired and have no interest in creating content on YouTube.
I find that so inspiring. Did you have, I mean, because you say like it took 3 years of, half-heartedly making things. Do you remember, was there like an aha epiphany moment that you were retiring the show, or was it just kind of uh built up over time of gradually like just not finding the fun in it anymore?
Yeah, like it had built up over time. And I mean, it was the longest I had ever done anything. Like I had worked with
Yeah.
autistic children for 7 years. I was in an executive assistant office role for 6 or 7 years. And then being a YouTuber was such a goofy career. And again,
Yeah.
now I'm a life coach. I could have kept my head in the game. I could have coached myself to success. I could have
Sure.
figured it out. I didn't want to figure it out. I had
Yeah.
outdone myself. And I mean, honestly, I could see myself in 10 years being like, I'll make content again. But at this point in my life is so satisfying and different and happily removed from it. Like, even if
Yeah.
I make a video now, it's like, here's a video, but it's not what I'm doing. It's like I look at YouTube the way I look at playing soccer. It's just something I do, but it had taken over so much of my life. And that's the thing too. Like, we were the first generation of YouTubers. So it's like a teacher knows you're going to get your summers off. An actor knows the role is over. It's time to go do a sitcom.
Yeah.
As a YouTuber, you don't really have clear boundaries and expectations. And again, really, it is financial too. So it's like if I make 20K a month and then the next month I make 2K, I'm like, do I want to even be doing this? And then
Yeah.
I find there's a loneliness, and and I see creators and I can just see it in their eyes. I'm like, I never had that many friends. And so suddenly
Yeah.
to have 1 million subscribers or thousands of comments, it did give me dopamine and it did give
Yeah.
me joy. But it also now I have so many real life friends, I like, oh, that's so different than what I did, you know? So
Totally.
yeah.
But that's why I think your story is so important and so helpful to, I think, myself and a lot of other people. Like you said, you can see it in people's eyes. You can tell, you can read between the lines. Like you can really get a vibe from someone the same way you can get a vibe from someone that makes them popular and that's why you like them. You can also get a vibe that like something's off with this person. And I think a lot of people struggle with the ability to finally truly walk away from it, like you said, because there's no boundaries. So we have to create it for ourselves. We have to make the individual decision to say, I've gotten what I need out of this and I can walk away. For you to find life coaching after YouTube, did you know that that's kind of where you wanted to go? Or was that sort of like reaching in the dark for something and you found life coaching?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of two things. Number one, I bought a book about life coaching in 1999, and it's such a goofy feel. Like it's a joke on a sitcom. You watch Roseanne
Right.
and Aunt Jackie's a life coach, or
Right.
Alice and Janney, and a person who doesn't have their life together. You're a life coach. It's like when you
Mm-hmm.
see your friends on Facebook who are therapists, and you're like, why do you seem like the messiest bitch here? And
Yep.
you're a goddamn therapist. But
Yep.
anyway, that's another story. But so I bought this book about life coaching, and I was like, this is fun. This is cool. This is positive psychology, which I'm very interested in, and well
Mm-hmm.
being and emotional health and gratitude and all that stuff. But I just forgot about it. I put the book away. And then, so that's my first introduction to life coaching. And then in 2015, when life wasn't going well, I did hire a life coach. And 5 minutes later, I was like, oh, I get it. So
Oh,
it was so lovely because I had gone to therapy and rambled and got no offense to, I didn't need therapy.
sure.
I didn't need to go a deep dive into therapy. I just
Yeah.
needed a life coach to kind of give me some direction and some questions and some perspective. And I say this all the time, the moment I realized that I was the problem and I was the solution, I was flooded with self-confidence for the rest of my life, because until that point, YouTube had caused me a lot of problems, or my ex-husband had caused me a lot of problems, or
Yeah.
and I think of all the I see people now tweeting about YouTube. I'm like, go! YouTube
Yeah.
owes you nothing. YouTube owes you nothing. I promise you, go get a job. Or love it. You love it, or you get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
It's like that's the thing. Like you see people on Twitch for 12 hours. I don't want to get a job. Go get a job. It's okay.
I know. I feel like it's just you've become one of the audience members on like Jerry Springer that's like, go get a job.
I mean, I promise it's good on the other side. But yeah, so I mean, I think I'm the product of life coaching. And so that's the other thing. Like I know people who reach out to me and life's not going well. And they're like, maybe I'll be a life coach. Or I talk to a YouTuber who's like, I give advice on my channel. I should be a life coach. I'm like, that's not what I'm doing, but okay. Like, yes, it's lovely that these teenagers look to you for advice. And you're like, maybe
Right.
maybe, again, it's not, for me, it is my great life passion and my great life fulfillment. And so that's it. Like I fell into it by purpose, but I've always wanted this. So I love that. I love that. Yeah.
That's great. And it's just really great to watch you find your purpose that isn't connected to YouTube. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
like they owe you nothing and it's okay to walk away. And I feel like that's the thing that a lot of people are struggling with right now is the idea of walking away and not knowing how else they could get fulfillment in another area of their life. And so I think it's really important for you to be like sending that message, because I've been talking about this a lot with everyone. Like we're the first wave of people that have been doing YouTube like this. So there's no real studies on the effects of it on our psychology the way that like we can study like, child actors and things like that I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting effects on different types of people from being so heavily involved in this platform for so long. And I think it's really great to see people like you evolve out of it and succeed outside of it, but still be able to like.
And I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I have no complaints. I have written blogs about, I have nothing but gratitude. I have a tattoo of a YouTube logo. I love my ex-husband. It doesn't mean I want to be married to him anymore. I love
Right.
YouTube. It doesn't mean I want to be a famous content creator anymore. There's nothing but joy and gratitude. When I see creators who are after me tweeting weird things about YouTube and they're like, but they owe me. They owe you nothing. It's
Yeah.
been lovely that they've given me so much money and so much fame. I've moved on. I see people who are trying and they make a Patreon and they make a Twitch and they're like, again, if that's what you want to do and you like like if I'm coaching you right now and if you're a
Yeah.
YouTuber listening to this, if you want to be on YouTube and you like your reason for being on YouTube, yay, focus on that. But if you're just chasing something that's really not there and you are constantly looking for an external solution to an internal problem, there's not enough likes or money in the world that's going to solve this. And YouTube does give you that quick dopamine, but it is like putting a Band-Aid on what you need to solve.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. We're going to take a quick break and let that settle in because, that's hit me on all the good spots. Okay. We'll be right back with more Not Too Deep and Michael Buckley just preaching some truth.
Not too deep. With Grace Helbig.
Okay, Michael, in line with like you giving up YouTube, you've also given up alcohol, Real Housewives, and fast food. Which of those three, alcohol, Real Housewives, or fast food, was the most difficult to give up?
Probably Real Housewives because it's on Hulu every season and it's good to fall asleep to. So
Yeah.
it's funny because like fast food took a couple tries. Alcohol was actually easy, but if I had to rank them, and also I'm a lovely person and I wish to see the best in you. So Sonia Morgan, Ramona Singer, Dorinda, I wish to see the best in you, but you're not giving me much these days. So it's been a conscious uncoupling of the Real Housewives.
Yeah, I know, because one of my favorite things is watching you watch The Real Housewives.
Thank
you. And I'm also a major fan, but I share the same like discouragement that their character arcs. Melissa and I were literally just talking about this before we started the podcast, that they were like this and now they're just slowly going down, and it's hard to watch that happen.
And there's nothing aspirational. So when Bethany's on, there's aspiration, and she's the good comedic peanut gallery. But left to their own devices, Dorinda, Ramona, Sonia being shit-faced at 60 years old, I'm not that compelled to watch this, you know?
I agree 100%. So what are you watching now?
I'm not good at TV. I'm not really, like, I do my best to watch a program because I want to do Instagrams and I want to know what's going on in the world. But then I end up looking and I just put on Golden Girls, Designing Women, or Sex in the City, or something I've seen a lot. But I will say, I'm watching on Disney Plus. I loved Encore, where they're in their musicals and they go back and redo them. Cast of 92 would love to do Guys and Dolls. Xavier High School, Middletown, Connecticut, sign me up. But I also I'm watching a docu-series on the making of Frozen 2, and I cry every episode. So that's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you now live in Colorado. And you live with your twin sister and her children. And with that, can you explain to people who might not know what a gunkle is?
A gunkle is a homosexual uncle. So, yes.
Do you describe yourself?
Uncle.
Okay.
Yeah. And I live in a basement. It's amazing. I always love telling that story too. I went from living in 2 4-bedroom homes with attics and basements, and now I live in a basement. People would see me and be like, "It's not going well." I'm like, "There's nowhere I'd rather be." I used to wander around my home like, "What am I doing?" And now that I'm here, my old brain is always looking at homes like, I should go live in an old 4-bedroom home. I'm like, I want to live in a 1-bedroom condo or a tiny house for the rest of my life. I don't want all that shit, you know?
No, that's so great. It feels like you've definitely simplified your life from every aspect.
Nothing. These are the only books I have in the world. The other day, I got rid of my last 3 knickknacks. When I moved here 3 years ago, I kept 3 knickknacks of all of my knickknacks, and I thought, I love these. They still bring me joy, Marie Kondo. But then I looked at them the other day. I'm like, I don't wish to be a person with any knickknacks. I had expensive coffee table books. I don't wish to be a person with any of this shit. So again, I have nothing. I have the clothes on my back, a computer, and I love it. I love that. I watched the documentary on minimalism, and the guy said, love people, use things. And I realized, like alcohol, the moment I quit alcohol, I started shopping more. So again, talking about looking for an external solution, there wasn't going to be enough throw pillows in the world from Home Goods. So it's like, I definitely was like, yay, buy stuff. And now I'm like, I want nothing.
Wow. I mean, except for your J. Crew. We have to keep you stocked.
J. Crew, yes. I'm not sponsored.
That blows my mind that of all the sponsorships that could be still floating in your ether, that one has to come through soon.
Oh my God.
Okay. What seems to be the most common? You're working with a lot of clients in life coaching. Is there one common issue that is the most prevalent, either through clients or through like messages that you get on Instagram or Twitter or anything? Is there one like overarching theme that people seem to come to you about?
So here's the funny thing. When you hire a life coach, you fill out a form and you generally show up and you have things that you want coaching on. And then the more you coach and you learn, you realize that, again, you're the problem. It's not your
Right.
mother. It's not your career. And a lot of times it is just your self-love. It is your self-worth. It's like, it's amazing that if I don't feel loved and worthy and give myself that every day, I'm constantly looking for it from a new boyfriend or a new career or a bigger house. And so again, I will coach you on what you come for, but then ultimately you realize, oh, it's a little bit more of just, I need to like and love and appreciate myself more on a daily basis. So yeah, so a lot of people come for coaching and then they realize, oh, it's me, and I just need to be nicer to myself on a daily basis.
It's always been me.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could design your own float for a pride parade and the budget was no option, what would it look like for you?
It would look like Christine Baranski, Julie Walters, and Amanda Seyfried in the scene from Mamma Mia 2. Here we go again, Angel Eyes. So it would be Greek island, and they would be in their caftans, and it would look like the scene. Go on YouTube right now and type it in, Angel Eyes, Mamma Mia, here we go again. That's all I want in the world.
Oh, I love it. So, I mean, you're talking about before, like you went from 2 big homes to a basement in your sister's house. That your life feels like it's like ripe for a movie. And if it was made into one, who would play you? If obviously not for yourself.
Oh my God, somebody gay, somebody very gay. I mean, I would love to say someone hot like Bradley Cooper, but it would probably be some like nerdy bald guy. Ed Harris. No. I don't know. Who would play me. I would play me. I was doing a reading the other day of a movie on like a Zoom call because, you know, it's 2020 and that's what we're doing. And they said, have you seen the movie? And I said, no, don't worry. I'm just going to do Valerie Cherish from The Comeback doing this role. That's the performance you're going to get. So, you know.
That's
Anytime I've ever
fantastic.
done any acting and someone tries to direct me, I'm like, you're going to get Michael Buckley playing Valerie Cherish in the play Lisa Kudrow in The Comeback. So good luck directing me.
Yeah, that's I want you to know up
artist.
front. Exactly. Yeah, we can collaborate, but I already know what my part is.
This is my role.
Okay. Do you think you actually match well with your astrological sign?
Oh my God, I'm a Gemini. I have a Gemini tattoo.
Okay.
I am a twin. So it's funny because Gemini is twin. I think I have a mug and it says witty, optimistic, intelligent, and adaptable. So yes, if you Google Gemini, I definitely fit the mold of that. I love that. There is a duality. I just made a sign because that means twin. For those watching at home, I'm signing twin. Or no, that's toilet. This is twin. I fixed up my T's. This is toilet. This is twin. But being a twin, you know, it's a bit of like a Gemini tends to have a split personality, but I do actually have a twin sister. But in terms of the split personality, there is a warmth and a coldness to me. And I love that. I used to hate it because I am so warm and lovely. The moment I'd get cold, I would be like, oh God, now I love when I'm cold. So again, I love, and that's the thing about life coaching too. I always say, I love all the terrible things about myself. I'm not conditionally, I love me when I'm rich and when I'm thin and when I'm in love. I love me when I'm horrible. I'm a human being. I love all the terrible things about myself.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, in terms of like in coaching, you're obviously giving so many pieces of advice. Who do you go to for advice?
So that's interesting because I have a lot of like coaches and mentors and stuff. And I've been through so many training programs that I feel like right now I'm not following anybody like that because I've been solidifying my voice as a coach versus when you start coaching and you do a program, you kind of end up sounding like that person. So if you go to a Tony Robbins course, you might just start, oh, he sounds like Tony Robbins. So, or you watch a lot of like Brené Brown and now you're talking about vulnerability and all that. So I did a lot of coach training 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And now I'm always just kind of like just listening and learning and reading positive psychology. I also love rereading books. So like I'm rereading The 7 Highly Habits of Effective People. I love this book. And this is a book I read years ago, but it didn't hit me right because my brain wasn't ready for it. So I love reading books 5 years later, 10 years later, 2 years later. So I'm always reading. I'm always doing online courses. I use Coursera or Udemy, and I'm always taking courses in positive psychology or neurolinguistics or philosophy. So it's funny how during COVID, all my free time is just spent reading and doing online courses. So that's what I'm doing a lot of.
Cool. What's I know you're into office supplies too. What's your major recommendations for those that are building their minimalist home office?
When I was a child, Grace Helbig, all I wanted to do was go to my father, Dennis Buckley's office and raid the filing cabinet of supplies, and I couldn't wait for the day when I had my own stapler and tape dispenser. Like, this was it. I wanted these like they were toys. Now today, my favorite office supplies are having a stand for my phone. You can get an 8-pack on the Amazon. I would never want my phone to not be in a stand. And I love a giant Post-it. So I've got giant Post-its in all these beautiful colors. And this is what I use for like my vision board affirmation wall. So I've got all my goals. I've got all my best feelings. I've got all of my mantras. So I love a giant Post-it, which is a good visual cue of all the things I want to be thinking and feeling and achieving all day.
That's wonderful. And I love big size anything. It's great. I mean, and we'll skip over that. Okay, let's talk about tattoos. So you have, how many tattoos do you have at this current moment?
28.
28. And when did you get your first tattoo?
So exactly 4 years ago, yesterday, I got a YouTube play button. I think I was drunk. It's hideous. It's deformed. It doesn't look like a play button. For a first tattoo, like you should get a tattoo here. I got it right on the floppy part of my wrist. And so it's always being deformed and hideous. So that's what, but I love it. I love it. I love it. Again, I love it all as a bigger picture. If I just had that, I'd be like, oh God. But because I've got 28, I see the bigger picture of it all. And for me, I love tattoos represent an evolution of, if you watch videos of me back in the day, I used to make fun of tattoos, especially for like actresses. I'd be like, you should be a blank canvas. I want to see Rachel Berry, not Leah Michelle's hideous green tattoo. And then suddenly here I am years later, and I love tattoos. And for me, I love because it's decisive. I made a decision to do something. And I love my ability to be decisive and sell all my possessions or change careers or get a tattoo. And a tattoo is permission to see myself differently. If I see an old video, I'd be like, I would never have a tattoo. And now I see me, I'm like, of course, I'm Michael Buckley. I'm the type of person who easily and often gets tattoos.
What's the next one? Do you have any more in mind? Like when
I
it's
want
appropriate?
a dragon, and not like an ugly, mean dragon, but a cartoon, fun dragon. Because my tattoos are pretty. But a dragon represents confidence. A dragon doesn't second guess itself. A dragon doesn't not worry about how it's showing up in the world. So again, if I'm going to have a spirit animal, I'm not going to have some gay unicorn. I'm going to have a goddamn dragon who wants to show up powerfully and decisive and amazing. So I want a dragon. I want something Jesus-y because I'm very into God. So I'd like to get some crosses or something. But every time I Google Jesus-y tattoos, they're always weird looking. So I'd like something religious and spiritual and lovely.
I mean, that also feels like something you could task out to your followers to submit some.
I'd love a cross and a dragon and, anything.
Something cool. Okay, so you wrote a book in 2017 called Help My Kid Wants to Be a YouTuber, right?
Yes.
And this was obviously for parents of children that want to be YouTubers.
So this was my career transition because it's interesting because the coach I was working with on that, I was coaching her son on YouTube, and she's very successful. She lives in a castle. She probably makes $20 million a year coaching. And so in her brain, she thought, Buck, you should be a life coach or a creative coach for YouTube. That's your $100K a month business. And so at the time, I wanted to get out of YouTube, and I wanted to use my skills differently. So that was an interesting, that was an attempt at a career between YouTube and life coaching. The problem is I couldn't care less about YouTube, and I certainly didn't want to be coaching children. So I'm so glad I did that because that segued me from YouTube to coaching. And that was my in-between coaching, which I enjoyed it. I charged money for it. It was okay, but it wasn't my sweet spot. So that I'm really grateful for that chapter, but that was like an in-between chapter.
And so is this book still available for people?
Please don't buy it.
Okay.
I will make money if you buy it, but it's basically a client conversion book, meaning you read the book and then you want to work with me, and I'll get an email saying, you read the book, can you work with me? And I'll say, nope. So, but thank you for trying to plug my book.
Got it. Okay, I know that you've been you promote or not promote, you've broadcast that you've been celibate for a while. But what is
celibate?
I know. I mean, kudos. You've really minimalized your life in so many ways.
So much, honestly, not being on Grindr or Tinder or Scruff or I don't ever want to be on an app again.
Yeah.
I don't want to interact with someone like that. I'm an outgoing person. If I wish to meet somebody for dating or sex, I know how to go out and do it the old-fashioned way.
Right.
And I love not having sex because I am very sex positive. I went from being monogamously married for 13 years, and then I thought, I've been missing out. So the next thing you know, it's group sex, it's orgies, it's anybody can have sex because we're all on PrEP. And then suddenly you were like, is this what I want? So again, I went so far from being monogamously married to being giant whore. I wanted to figure out how to land somewhere in the middle. And so there's something about like, I love not having sex just as much as I loved having tons of sex. And I think I'm going to be celibate for at least a year. And I don't even think I'm going to consider dating again until I'm like 50. I think I'm in a deeply committed relationship with myself. I love my relationship with God. I think who I am in the world needs to be single. I think my best value to the world, I can't imagine having someone sitting there over there and be like, you're my partner. I think I'm the greatest love of my life. And so much of my life has been boys and men. And I'm not on the market. I'm not available. If I meet the most spectacular man and he wishes to fall in love with me, I'm not going to begrudge him the pleasure, but I'm certainly not out there, but I am amazing. And I'm just not going to date someone to spend time with. Like, if you're amazing and wish to tap in, slide into my DMs, but it's probably a no.
I think that's so great. I mean, because you have so much momentum going. You don't need any anchors holding you back.
I was with a boyfriend for 4 years in college. I was married for 13 years. I know what great love and partnership feels like, and I believe there's plenty of that. I believe when I'm 50 or 60, I'll pick another life partner and say, let's spend from now until death together. But I think 20s and 30s was for other people. 40s are all for me, man. So I'm 45 and I've been single, and it's been working, and it's been delightful.
Good for you.
It's not like another life choice. Like, I don't want you, like, that is, we're brainwashed. You should have a beautiful big home and 2 kids, and you should want to be famous, and who wouldn't want a life partner? And here's the other thing about being single, and I hope people listening hear this. For years, I talked the talk, but I didn't walk the walk because I acted like I liked being single. I was like, no, this is fun. But in the back of my brain, I always thought, but it would be nice to have somebody. And this is the first time in my life for the last 2 or 3 years that I'm like, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
I'm good. Like, I really enjoy being single, and I love thinking single and behaving single. And my life is so full of love and I've never felt so connected with myself or my greater life purpose. And sometimes when you're in a relationship, that can distract you from your own needs and your greater life purpose because you're so busy trying to be a partner and a spouse, and that's lovely. And I don't begrudge you that pleasure, but I'm here to tell you it's not the end all be all.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, that's beautiful and a massive challenge for anyone that wants to attempt to slide into a DM of someone that's just so full of love for themselves.
Because if you don't like being with yourself, there's not enough compliments or sex or relationship quality time that's going to give that to you. So I am 100% good to go in love unconditionally with myself. And someday, if I meet someone who also is, then maybe we will make a great partner. But I am, again, 100% whole and enjoying life. So yay.
Good for you. Okay, on that note, we're going to take one last break. When we get back, I have a bunch of really fun Twitter questions for you. So we'll be right back with more Not Too Deep.
Not too deep. With Grace Helbig.
Okay, we're back in, and I'm going to ask you before we get into these Twitter questions, the 2 questions I ask every single guest that is on the podcast. And the first is, who, alive or dead, would you most want to throw cold spaghetti at?
I mean, right now, it's got to be Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like, the problem is he'd enjoy it. He'd probably pay me to piss on him and throw spaghetti on him. But yeah, it's got to be Donald Trump. Love you, praying for you, hoping you turn it around someday.
For all of our sake.
Yes.
Okay, the other question I ask every single guest is to tell us your worst pants shitting story or close call, but you can only use 3 words or 3 small phrases to describe it. So, for instance, mine is college jogging front lawn.
I'm gay. Happens.
Okay.
Honestly, no offense, but if you're a homosexual and you've had things in your butt, sometimes you just shit yourself. It's like, well, welcome. Welcome to being a homosexual, because you prep for sex and then suddenly, oops.
I love that this episode has advice on all levels for all different things.
Yeah, I remember being a young homosexual and getting ready for sex and then being like, oh, I'm not done. Oh, what? Again, the gays watching, no. Oh, I shouldn't have left the house yet. Oh.
I love it.
Keep wipes in your dashboard.
Solid tip. Okay, let's get into these Twitter questions. The first one, someone had about 7 different questions, but I'll just pick one from all of these. And it is, how do you spur yourself into action?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, I mean, I really try and increase and improve my internal motivation. And it's interesting because a lot of times, really, our thoughts are creating our feelings, creating our actions. So if I'm not in action, I'm always seeking to understand why I'm not. Because if I just jump into action, I'm not really understanding why I'm not taking action. So for me, if I'm not taking action, I'm thinking, what the hell am I feeling? What the hell am I thinking? And then I try and create a thought that will inspire me, because I create deliberate inspiration every day. I'm not waiting around to feel motivated and inspired. So I'm using my brain. So again, use your brain to create deliberate, intentional motivation every day. Yay!
Yeah, and I think you emphasize this a lot in your Instagram stories about writing shit down.
All day, every day.
And I think it sounds so simple, but I think it's so impactful to actually do the physicality of writing something down, because like you say, the amount of thoughts that we have going through our brains unmanaged is like infinite. So you really have to kind of lasso them in a little bit, wrangle them in, and see what happens from there.
So much goes wrong every day. If you're driving to work, I'm going to be in a good mood. Then you get an email. Then you have a weird co-exchange. And then it's like, so that even right now, today I'm showing up joyful, understanding, appreciative, and encouraging. I've picked my feelings for the day. I know how I'm going to show up today. I'm not waiting for the day to show up to me. So again, I always have deliberate mindset. I know how this podcast is going to go. I'm not waiting for it to be over to decide, that was fun, Grace. I came in excited. I came in open-hearted. I came in loving you so much. So I know this is going to be fun.
I feel like they should redo like the opening scene in Clueless, where she's like picking out her outfit on the computer with just like feelings that describe.
Pick out her thoughts and her feelings. Right?
Yes, exactly.
That's amazing.
Okay, someone says, with your new attitude to life, what advice would you give young Michael?
What advice would I give? What?
Young Michael, your younger self.
Oh my God. I mean, part of me wouldn't want to give him any advice, because I'd want him to go through I would hate for him to miss any of the growth opportunities. I am 45 years old. I know better and I do better. So I look back at 30-year-old, 20-year-old with a compassionate lens. So, I mean, I might just say to him, you're going to end up exactly where you need to be. Love yourself unconditionally every step of the way, regardless of yourself. So yes, because there's been times in my life when I've really beat myself up and I've really suffered at the expense of myself. And I'm glad that I did that, but I'm glad I'm on the other side of it. If I didn't do it then, I might have done it at 50 or 60. So again, I wouldn't want young Michael to know anything. He's amazing. I love him.
A lot of people are asking kind of the same question. How do you remain so positive? You just radiate joyful vibes. I want to do that too. Someone says the optimism this man has needs to be bottled and sold at J. Crew. How can he be so positive in this world?
Yeah, so I always think, what's the alternative? Like, again,
Mhm.
I can be really negative. My brain knows and again, the world is giving me Donald Trump and COVID and racism, so I can easily go down that rabbit hole. So, again, even on my post-it today, I'm reminding myself to show up joyful. I get to
Mhm.
do this. I don't have to do anything. That's one of my simple shifts. I always say to clients, I have to pick up my kids. I have to do this expense report. You do not have to pick up your kids. It is a luxury. Many women abandon their children. Many people do not do their jobs and get fired. Everything I do is optional. My life, I have a personal mission statement I live in line with every day. So again, I do choose positive emotions over and over, but I'm also really good at allowing and processing my negative emotions. And I'm also good at neutralizing things. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you have a terrible life event, you don't need to turn it into a positive. You at least
Yeah.
need to neutralize it. Or, like I'm doing right now, seeing the growth opportunity. Yes, there's COVID. Yes, there's racism. Yes, there's Donald Trump in office. I'm not waiting for that to go away for me to feel better. I'm responsible for my emotions every day.
That's great. And would you say that it's really practicing over time to be able to do that on such an easier, like, autopilot type of way?
Yeah, and it's definitely writing it down, because I read all the books. I read You're the Secret. I read You're a Badass. I believe all that shit, and it's all helpful. But if you're just reading that book, then you're just a consumer of self-help. You need to take the book or take the podcast and write the shit down. If I wasn't doing this every day, it wouldn't be sticking. So when I first started doing this, there was plenty of wiggle room. And even as not far back as 2018, I wasn't writing every day. I was still having hit or miss months emotionally, financially, spiritually. And then the
Mhm.
more I kept doing the work, like I look at this journal. This is my journal and it's a Vidcon journal. Thank you, Hank and John Green. Last time I've ever been, and we'll probably go to Vidcon. Maybe the 20-year anniversary. This is September 2019 to April of this year. This is the best work I've ever done on myself. This is the
Wow.
stuff I always look back on. I'm like, oh my God. I've solved so many things. I've coached myself through so many things. I've picked power, and people sometimes message me and say, how do I journal? If you're not going to just write down journaling like, oh, dear diary, give yourself an amazing question. How can I
Yeah.
like and love myself a little bit more today? How can I be an example of what is possible today? How can I live in line more with my purpose today? How can I be
Mhm.
a more loving mother, coworker, spouse today? Give your brain some direction. If you ask yourself an amazing question, you will come up with amazing answers. So that's my journaling tip. If you're watching, like, what is journaling?
No, I think that's great. You need a writing prompt. You need something to kind
Something.
of launch you into it. Um, this is my question. With all of this, with all this work that you're doing, would you ever do like a Tony Robbins type of like convention tour, live show situation?
Yes, I mean, I think that's in my future. I'm so
Okay.
enjoying where I'm at right now, and I'm making sure I'm doing that, because as a YouTuber, I never enjoyed where I was at. I was always
Mm,
looking backwards to when it was going well or in the future, so I never really savored it. Like, if I look back at my peak YouTube years, I never really enjoyed them. I was
yeah.
always either thinking this is going to go away tomorrow or
Yeah.
whatever. So now I'm so enjoying the work I'm doing that I don't want to lose sight of it. So again, that is a goal. I would love to do that. I would love to, have a podcast, have a live motivational speaking tour. And I do see that in my future. Yes.
Cool.
But I'm
Okay,
very much enjoying today.
that's very exciting. Um, someone wants to know, what do you miss most about YouTube?
Um, I want to say I miss seeing you more, because like I'd see you at event. I miss
Yeah.
the friendships and the connections. I'm not someone though who miss, because here's the thing too, this is what I was just speaking to. I'm so present focused. All I'm thinking about right now is I'm so glad I get to spend a couple minutes with Grace. And then so I let myself look into the future, and I have an eye on that, but I'm so present focused. So I just don't go backwards very much. If
Yeah.
you said, what do you miss about high school? Doing the musicals? What do you miss about YouTube? the easy money.
Yeah.
The easy money. Like it was very easy to get money thrown. I know, but I don't miss things. I'm just so
Yeah.
enjoying life. I miss seeing you and, you know, some of my YouTube friends more often than I used
Yeah.
to, like, see you twice a year. So I miss that, but I love, you know, being friends on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with you, you know?
Totally, totally. I think that's great because there is like there's a tendency, like kind of what you mentioned before. If you start indulging in missing something, you start like romanticizing this thing
Yeah.
that might not have been the way that it actually was for you,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily the healthiest thing. Speaking of not healthy, which Housewives franchise was the most difficult to give up?
Oh my! Well, so I stayed with New York the longest because I am from Connecticut and Massachusetts and spent lots of time in New York City. So in
Uh-huh.
terms of me relating to a certain type of woman, like I'm like I get these women. Like
Yeah.
I watch OC. I'm like I don't get it. Like I don't get it. I
Same,
don't get
same.
it. I love Beverly Hills. I've clung to a little bit too because I do like Erica Jane and I do select. I like Kyle every other season. Like Kyle's fine and then she's not. So again,
Mhm.
it's interesting. So I've hung in with New York and Beverly Hills the longest. OC got. I kept with OC, and then Kelly was mean, and Vicky and Tamara were mean and yelling, and it just
Yeah.
again that's where New York is right now. New York has hit a wall, and
Yeah.
Luann isn't a strong enough Bethany to be the central figure. I was hoping Luann would be the central figure. She's not strong enough to be the central figure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I feel like you should be involved in the casting of potential new seasons.
Andy, call me. I would love
Save
to
us.
help, but I'd love to put together an aspirational group of women
Yeah.
to root for.
Yes, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, someone wants to know, what do you miss the most about the East Coast?
I miss being close to Broadway. I mean, I love going to New York and seeing 2 or 3 shows a week. I miss
Mhm.
being close to Cape Cod and being part of the ocean. Like Colorado is beautiful, but there is no ocean. So we've got the
Right.
mountains, we've got beautiful weather. But I do, you know, in 10 years, I'm sure I'll be living like halftime on Cape Cod and halftime somewhere else. But
Cool.
yeah, I do miss the ocean and I do miss the Broadway. And I also miss, again, I'm very fast talking, fast walking. People here are slower. That's not an insult, but you know, I'm
Yeah.
used to a New York person who walks fast, talks fast, thinks fast. And so I'm very
Totally.
much an East Coast person.
Well, I'm excited for you to be to share the wealth of yourself with the East Coast eventually.
Thank you.
Okay, last question before we wrap up, and I could talk to you for 3 more hours very
I know. I
easily,
love you
but
so much. Thank you so much. This
I'm
has been so
so
lovely.
Oh, I agree. Okay. Stephanie says, your life has changed pretty drastically since the start of your YouTube career. What does your average day look like now?
So I wake up every day around 7:30. I let the dog out. I put the coffee on. I come downstairs. I get dressed in my uniform of J. Crew sweater, tech pants, and I wear the same. I get dressed every day, and then I work for this wonderful senior living company, Arrow Senior Living. Shout out! And I am their coach. I do personal development and leadership, and I'm on calls for about 7 or 8 hours a day with their leadership team. And so that's such a wonderful story of someone who. Amanda, who hired me as her life coach and then said, I have this company, and it became 4 people, 9 people, everybody. And so
Wow.
that is, I do take one-on-one clients occasionally, but most of my day is with Arrow Senior Living. So if you're looking for a job, it's an amazing company to work for, and you've got access to a life coach.
There you go. That's
And then at night,
incredible.
I'm reading and learning. But as Grace knows, my evenings were playing recreational soccer 4 days a week.
Uh-huh.
So it is, my life is, and everybody listening, I'm 45 years old. 41-year-old me does not recognize me. I have a different career. I'm full of tattoos. I play flag football and recreational indoor and outdoor soccer. And I love that. I did.
Uh-huh.
If I was still living in Connecticut making YouTube videos, that I don't know how much longer that would have lasted. But again, no wonder I was drinking so much because I could barely manage that. And now
Yeah.
I know in 5 or 10 years, if it's time to do something else again, I bring it on, man. Like it's
That's
not.
so great.
Life is not linear. Always be willing and open to evolve into new and amazing versions of yourself, spiritually, emotionally, financially, like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, well, what the hell, man? From now until death, who do you want to be? You get to decide every day. Yes.
Yes, I love that. Also, if you guys really want to see what Michael's life is like, just follow his Instagram story. He is very candid, very consistently posting over there. I love it. I think it's
Literally,
great.
the reason that I have any following on Instagram story is because Grace or Elliot or Mamrie or someone once a year says, hey, check out Buck, and then I get a couple hundred followers. So thank you. Yes,
I
on
love
Instagram story, hey, Michael Buckley, I'm on there all day. And if you are interested in coaching, I have my highlights tab, coaching 9, coaching 7, coaching 6. So go there and listen and learn and start writing some stuff down.
Great. Michael, this has been so wonderful. As always, you'll have to come back in the future and do a whole part 2, and we'll just get more into all of it because I think it's all extremely relevant for a lot of people right now. But before we go, usually when we do these podcasts in person, we have a personalized fortune cookie from us to our guest who's made time. But because of this way, we have a virtual fortune cookie. So feel free to go open that little email right now.
I have a fortune cookie and it says, we would like to remind everyone that Geminis are not two-faced. They simply see every side. Geminis are not easily distracted. They just want to try everything, and most definitely not nosy. They just want the whole story. I love that fortune.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Thank you.
Michael, where can people, like you said, they can follow you on Instagram and your stories and see your tabs?
I mean, I have a website, heymichaelbuckley.com. I keep a blog over there. I do maintain a pretty active Instagram story. So if you look at my Instagram and it doesn't seem like I post a lot, I am on Instagram story all day, just trying to add joy and possibility to the world. And I love that. And that satisfies my desire to create content without having to make a YouTube video and edit it and promote it and care if people see it. So I do have thousands of people watching and engaging with me, and that gives me a little joy. That gives me lovely joy, and gives me a relationship with people who they thought fondly of What the Buck 10 years ago, and they would like to keep up with me in some way. And so Instagram story is my way of doing that. So it would be lovely to see you over there.
I love it. Thank you again for making time.
Thank you,
was
Grace.
So
I love you. I adore
fun.
you. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see what your next chapter in your life is going to be.
It's a coming. And make sure you guys go follow Michael. He's nothing but joy radiating constantly. And it is just so lovely with all the everything that's happening. We'll see you guys next time. Another episode of Not Too Deep. Goodbye.
Too deep, too deep, too deep, not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Not Too Deep is a production of Grace Helbig Incorporated, producer Melissa D. Montz, edited by Shireen Lani Eunice, post-production sound by Chris Henry, and an extra special thanks to Flula for the theme music.